everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel today. We're back with another video on GT Sport and we're back at Kyoto Driving Park for another race. A little bit different this race, obviously starting a little bit further down the grid. We didn't bother to qualify basically. What I did was qualified early in the day as I said in the previous video and then just left it and just did a lot of racing, so we got a lot of footage, and this was another race that I wanted to upload. Obviously starting a little bit further down. I'm not too used to starting this far down, 7th position. I'm normally starting within the top 4 places, so it was just an opportunity to try something a little bit different in the race and see what we could do. Obviously the tactics are going to have to really come into play here because we're starting in P7. We've got 6 cars ahead of us, and it's a track that although you can overtake on, the overtaking positions are always in tricky positions in terms of contact happening, and with the current penalty system I'm still really not happy with. I still feel it needs a lot of work. I think it needs, to be brutally honest, my personal view is they need to scrap it and start a new system because this system is not working. I preferred the system before in a way because you could actually race, although it did have issues that people could take you out, so the whole system doesn't seem right to me. My personal view is these guys should, GT Sport people should really take a look at iRacing. And some people might say, oh yeah, but that's not perfect. It isn't perfect because to get a perfect system you need a marshal watching every race and to judge every single instant. So that's not going to happen. You know, that will never happen on GT Sport. So I think the best system that you can use is iRacing. I've heard some other people saying about a system where when a penalty is received the car needs to flash red or something. Something to let you know, look at that there. I had to dive out the way at that situation there because he served the penalty instantly coming out of an exit of a corner on the racing line. Perfect example of the system just not working. Now, no matter what happens with the current system, even if he was flashing red, that would have caused me a massive issue. It's lucky, to be brutally honest, it's lucky I didn't lose control. I just reacted instantly, just saw the car thing. I've noticed the hazard lights come on when they're serving a penalty, or whether he put them on. But either way, it didn't really help me. That could have been a really disastrous situation where we were down. After having a crash and probably getting a penalty ourselves if we did. This is why I don't think the system's going to work. No matter what happens, if he flashes red there, that's too soon in front. What we need is a system where, like the old system where you could serve the penalty to the end of the race was too extreme. So why not just give them one lap from where the first sector split? So say they had an incident towards the end of the second sector split. So give them a whole lap. So to the second sector split, one lap further on to serve that penalty. That's one option that I think could be done, just so that people could just get rid of that penalty slowly in certain corners. Lifting off, going wide, letting people through. Give people the opportunity to do it fairly and equally, and then also you can then get back in the straight and then lift off again on another corner, let another person pass, etc. That's one idea. The other idea I have in terms of the penalty system, which I personally like, I think this would be quite a good idea because if you watch the Blancpain GT3 series, I believe they have a system where if you run over on corner exits, extending the track or cutting corners, and they have like a free strike penalty system, I believe it is. It's something like that. So basically if you get 3 strikes, it's a drive-through. Obviously you can't do it for one incident because having one incident where you say you run wide on a corner, it's too much. But having a system where 3 corner cuts or 3 track extends gives you a drive-through penalty could work. Maybe you could increase or decrease the amount of strikes you receive depending on the laps, etc. Or they need to balance that out. But I just think that system will work. At least then, if you're given opportunities, people will make mistakes. People will track extend, and to get rid of the people that think, oh yeah, I'll just ignore that chicane and go straight on, and I won't get a cut. That situation, then yeah, give them an instant penalty or an instant drive-through if that kind of incident happens. One where they're going to gain 5-10 seconds. I'm talking about ones where you run wide on a track and you might gain a 1/10 of a second. Then give them 1 strike, or you cut a corner but you don't actually gain time. That's 1 strike. A little X on the top right hand corner. You have 3 X's that build up, and you see that on your screen, and then that can then be implemented into a drive-through or something, whether it's a stop and go, depending on the severity of the incidents, etc. It can also, this is where you could be used in terms of contact with other cars. This is what iRacing does. You have a set amount of strikes every race that you can tally up. So basically, if you reach that top amount of tallying, you're disqualified from the race. This is just one example of what they could do. And obviously for myself, coming from iRacing, I've played iRacing, that was the best system I've come across in terms of how they give penalties. They obviously give instant penalties like they do on GT Sport for severe corner cuts, but you don't have to serve them instantly. They're there, and you just have to get rid of it over the lap. The longer you leave it, the the less it will go down as fast. So it won't increase, but it just does. It will, like, the rate at which you can serve it is obviously dependent on how fast you do it. But this is just one thing you could do, and you could even split and have I mean, this might be getting a bit complicated, but having 2 separate penalty systems with the free strike system for obviously corner cuts and track extents, giving you a drive through, and then say for short races like this, you wouldn't need, like iRacing has 17 strikes for contact, and you're disqualified. Obviously this does, you know, it means that you will get contact in some short races, but for short races like on GT Sport where it's only 10 laps, maybe have like an 8 or 10 strike penalty system for that. So if you're having contact with cars, little contact tonight, it's like an iRacing, tiny contact gives you a ×1. Sometimes when you just scrape a barrier on like a corner exit at Montreal, it happens quite a bit, it will give you a ×0, so it doesn't actually increase, it just warns you that you got close. But if you spin your car and make a mistake all by yourself, it gives you ×4, and this does really bring into a fact of just driving smooth and increase, it really does bring better racing, because people are making sure they're not driving erratic as well. Because if you also, sometimes I've met the system on iRacing doesn't work, you can hit the guy behind and get a penalty, because the guy behind can get ×4, not an actual penalty, just gets a ×4. So you know, that's where it sometimes isn't perfect, but I think it just needs to just look at other games and see what works, because iRacing does work. It's not the best, but it does work, and it's just some ideas I have anyway. I'll stop ranting on about that, because that, you know, that's been covered in another video, and that's just my view. I just wanted to get it across after that incident that happened in this race. It really does show that it needs sorting out. Anyway, looking at this race now, you can see we're really closing in on this 3rd, 4th and 5th battle. This is where I was thinking that I need to do something different, because even if I pass this guy ahead of me, that's why I'm using, if you have a look, we're using 2 on the fuel management system. Even though we're short shift, I'm trying to save more fuel, because I wanted to try and give myself the option of not pitting, because at this stage, even if I'm, say I run 1 all the way around and I start get ahead of this guy, and I've got enough fuel to you know, go short in the pit stop, I'm not going to gain too much space, because I'm not going to be able to overtake every single one of these drivers ahead of me before the pit stop phase. So the idea was, let's just start saving a bit more fuel, give myself more options, and see if I was thinking, let's just go for the no pit strategy. The risk of this is the tyres, on especially the right front tyre, basically starts being non-existent on the last few laps. You just struggle so much, because there's a lot of real fast left-hand corners that put a lot of the pressure on that right-hand front tyre, and it becomes very tricky to drive. Also the rear right becomes a little bit worn out, and you really do start struggling. So as you can see there, when I needed to, I was putting the fuel back to 1 just to get myself back into the slipstream, and then obviously when it was starting to get a little bit closer to them guys ahead, I was going back down to the 2 mixture and short shifting along with that, so we were saving on a lot of fuel when we needed to. As you can see there, I could see that I was a little bit down on what I actually needed to save, obviously, as well. We're on 4.9 laps of fuel, we've got over 5 laps to go still, so I knew that I'm going to have to really get short shifting and save a lot of fuel to make this strategy work, and that's why I was going down to level 2 sometimes, even if it was just for a fraction of time, just to try and make sure I can get as close to the end of the race as I can while saving the fuel. So everyone peels off into pits there, you can see they're all going to go for that pits. I'm going to fake it and then dart out to the right, just in case someone saw what I was going to do and maybe thought they'd do the same. So we're into P1 right now, and this is where the concentration needs to come in. I really did need to drive smooth, but I needed to also concentrate on not pushing the car too much, because that right front tyre, if you have a look, it was really starting to take a lot of wear, and every single lap on this track that we were doing, every corner we were going around, it was like going around that corner 8 times with the tyre wear on ×8 or whatever it was. So we really did need to concentrate on just keeping it smooth, trying to save fuel as well. You can see I was still saving fuel, just watching my shifts, making sure the revs weren't building up too much. You know, it's not all about short shifting on upshifts. You need to be careful on your downshifts that you're not downshifting into 4th gear and the revs are going, you know, all the way up. That's one other area you really do need to be aware of. When you're short shifting, just be aware that what gear you're putting it into as well, because that can really affect the fuel usage. If you're downshifting into a corner and you're downshifting really fast and the revs are building up, you're using more fuel, you're wasting fuel basically. So I was also concentrating on that. As you can see now, we've got around the 7-second lead. The guy behind me is also on the same strategy because he made that. I think that's the guy that he had a penalty to serve and he served it right in front of me. So he obviously thought he's going to go for that same strategy and try and do the same thing. So again, we knew that guy wasn't in the race with us. We had that guy covered. I had also the race pace over him anyway because although he was qualifying ahead of us, I had raced him a few times and I felt like the race pace was a little bit better. I have to apologise again for the sniffling because again I've still got my cold, the man flu, so just trying to get these videos out. And then anyway, as you can see, still 7 seconds ahead, and you can see that the guy in second place has now overtook the guy that was on the same strategy as. So I've got 4 laps to go and 7 seconds. I was really not sure we could do this. It's going to be a tough one because fresh tyres and being able to just drive flat with obviously more fuel is worth more than a second. It's worth at least a second and a half a lap. So I was thinking 4 seconds. I was really panicking because I was thinking this is going to be really close, especially on that last lap where the tyres really give up and you're going to start losing more than a second a lap. You can already see our best lap was I think it wasn't really that fast. It was only a 40.9. It was about 6/10 off of what we were doing when we were going a bit more aggressive. I think we managed a 40.4 or something like that in a previous race. When we were pushing a bit harder, obviously with the fuel, you know, still saving fuel, but not to the extent we was now. So we can see now our current laps. Our last lap was a 42. So you can really see that we're losing a lot of time. It's over a second, and that's just going to get bigger. As you can see, the gap is getting a lot closer to the guy behind. So I really did need to just keep driving smooth. Try not to pay attention to that delta, although that it is just so hard not to look at. I was pretty much looking at it constantly because I could just see it getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and that's why in this situation I would prefer to be the guy chasing with them fresh tyres and able to just attack and attack and attack. But we're obviously not in that position. We're in the position which was basically because of our qualifying position. You can see it then in the top right hand corner on the TV replay camera. You can see the guy in per second coming into the view on the TV replay camera. So you can see the gap is really starting to shorten. We've only got 3 laps to go. We've got to hold this together now. We've got to try our best. Look at that right front tyre. That is the tyre that I was telling you about. It just takes a lot of energy on this track because of the way the corners are. I mean, this is one corner example. This corner up ahead now, this really long sweeping fast left-hander, it kills that right front tyre. You can see now it's a 5th gear corner pretty much, and then you're going flat out in 5th. You're accelerating hard now, and this part here is really starting to take wear on that right front tyre. So you really do need to just try your best to keep it smooth as it comes under 4 seconds, that gap now. And we've got over 2 laps to go. We've got 2.5 laps to go, and it's looking less and less likely like we're going to be able to do this. I knew at this stage, anything though in that top three place, I would have been really happy with. You know, at the start of the race, starting P7, you can get in the top 3 or 4 drivers. I'll be like, yeah, I'll take that. Especially with the quality of drivers that were in this race. You know, this race was pretty much, I think there was only 1 A-class driver. Everyone else was DR rated S. So it was obviously a high quality race. We were just trying our best to keep it on track, keep concentrating whilst trying to save fuel as well. I was still aware, if you have a little look on that bottom right, we're on 2.0 now and we're not over the line. So I was starting to think this is going to get really close, because that's taking into consideration the fuel saving that we've been doing on level 2, on the fuel mixture 2 and short shifting. So 1.9 as we go over the line. It's nearly 1.8 actually left, so it's really getting, as you can see, the lap times are down to 42.8. We're not losing massive amounts on lap. What we're doing is we're losing a little bit every lap because the wear's starting to go, and I'm trying my best not to push this car too hard. If I start driving as fast as I can, I'm just going to probably make a mistake, spin it, and probably take too much life out of these tyres. So it really was a case of just concentrating on the track, seeing if we could hold him off. I actually think on this lap, this wasn't the best lap. Let's just see what happens on this lap. This is second to last lap. The gap is now under 2 seconds. Didn't get the best exit there, but that didn't seem to lose too much time. You can see me now, I'm starting to panic a bit. I'm starting to look in the mirror, looking behind me, sorry, to see where he is. So going into the fast chicane, this is a real tricky corner. You can see I messed up the line into that, compromised the exit there. We compromised all the way through it, nearly lost it, managed to save it just about, and we lost a massive, I nearly lost a full second there in that one mistake. And that is the area where we just didn't, I was just so annoyed at myself for that mistake, because it would have been closer, although I still think this guy behind has got the speed over me. You can see he's now right in our slipstream. I'm going to try my best to defend the position. I'm not going to let anyone have a position easily. I will defend it hard, and I will defend it fair as much as I can. You know, some people don't like people that will defend against them, but no matter what, I will defend that position and try and get the best result. So I'm going to stay on the inside, I'm going to make him go around the long way, staying nice and tight, try and short shift it into 4th gear just so we get a nice clean exit. We managed to do really well coming out of that corner considering the tyre where we've still got a short shift down this straight. The Audi's on our right hand side, he's obviously got the faster car, fresh tyres as well, so he's on the outside. I'm going to try and make his life as hard as possible, so we're down on this inside, staying on the inside, he's on the outside. We're going to try and push it as fast as hard as I can around that corner. He takes the outside route, and then he's got that move done. So all I've got to do now is just try my best to hold on to this position. We're about 2 seconds ahead of the guy in 3rd place, but obviously with the car in its current state, with the fuel that I'm struggling with fuel and tyres, it's going to be a battle to see if we can hold on to 2nd place. So going on to these last few corners now, taking a real wide line there just to try and save them, just to try not to take too much life out of this tyre, because I know that it's getting close to being minimal in terms of just giving me any grip at all. As you can see, the guys took over half a second out in just that one corner. Going into this chicane for the final time, just trying to concentrate this time and keeping it smooth. We do it much better that time. If only we had done that on the previous lap. I mean, it would have been closer, but I still think he would have got me at some point. But it would have been a lot closer. You can see the gap is only 1 point. It's not even at 2 seconds to go in front, so we could have probably defended a bit really hard and made it a battle to the finishing line, although I still think that guy would have had the win with the strategies that we were on. But you can see now the guy behind me is really, he's got the scent of 2nd place, and he's trying his best to see if he can get close to us. We're just concentrating. The fuel is getting so, I only realised at this point, I put the fuel mixture to 2 because I can see that the fuel is getting so low. 0.1 laps of fuel, no tyre wear, and we're going onto the start straight for the final time, and I was just praying this would not run out of fuel. So we're going down the straight, and as you can see now, we're coming to the finishing line. It looks like we're going to get 2nd place. The fuel runs out just on the line there. We run out of fuel fractions before the line, but maintain 2nd position. So really happy with that race. Hope you guys enjoyed that race. We're going to be back with more of these videos very soon. Thanks again for watching. Make sure you sub the channel if you haven't already subbed, and give this video a thumbs up. Thanks again for watching.